der zentralen Position, muss Schwanzer unter der Vorsicht, dann ist es Fjørtoft, der ist im Strafraum, Tor! Tor! Für die Frankfurter Eintracht, 5:1, herrlich!
Hi and welcome to the German Fußball podcast, and it's been a few hours since I've seen you last over Zoom over our excellent chat with Fabrizio Romano, where we got a great insight into Jude Bellingham. And you can see that episode on our YouTube channel. But since we last spoke, Dad, you are not only in a different room, but in a different country.
Absolutely. And yes, it was a great, interesting chat with Fabrizio, talking about Jude Bellingham, who will be, I think, going to be wilder than with Erling Haaland, because Erling Haaland, you knew the price. You just had to pay that, and then they had to choose which club. So that was very interesting. Now I moved from England this week, and I did City against the Brighton. Erling Haaland scoring 2. Interesting game where Brighton got a more ball possession than Manchester City. That just happened once before in a couple of 3 seasons. Was against Brighton again, if I read that correct. And then I did Tottenham against Newcastle, and I was impressed by Newcastle. A great balance between not conceding goals, less conceded goal in the whole Premier League, 10 goals only. It's a very big players there at the back. They are going for every tackle. They are defending with their lives, which I like. Eddie Howe has managed to adjust them very good. And then I had a funny chat with Conte after the game. Antonio Conte, one of my favorite people that I interview, and where he asked me then at the end, you tell me, or ask Tottenham fan. And I said, sorry, I'm not Tottenham fan. I'm not the manager of Tottenham. And then he said, yeah, well, maybe you can ask the cameraman. And I wasn't rude, because I saw that he has a good smile, Conte, by the way. And I said, so you want me to ask the cameraman and myself before you? And then it was a laugh. So now I moved to Germany. I have some things I'm going to do here this week, is European Cup. But which game did you see this week, Marcus? Weekend?
Well, I went to Chelsea, the Chelsea Manchester United game. I was invited there by some good people there, and got to see a Manchester United side that I thought were much improved since I last saw them live, having played against my beloved Arsenal, in which they actually won, but I thought rather undeservedly, not in the most attractive of ways. But it really put his stamp on the team, which was encouraging for Manchester United fans to see, but not the most entertaining game. But I saw a bit of the Tottenham game, and yes, the interview with Conte, who you've incidentally played against at the World Cup in the US, correct?
Yeah.
And it's a funny interview, and a great character. And just to conclude the Premier League round, even though this is a German football podcast, the interview you had with Pep Guardiola as well, in terms of getting an insight into that, is one I'd recommend. Obviously, very objectively, as your son recommending it, but I mean that it was a very good interview, and trying to get into the mind of a very, a brilliant mind, and one of the most successful coaches of all time. And you got 12-15 minutes with him?
Yeah, we had, or what Manchester City said, it was 11:30. I was supposed to have 10 minutes, but I, in my opinion, I had a watch, but it was just funny. We were all laughing at it afterwards, because they started doing 3 minutes to go, Jan, and I knew it was 4. But and Pep Guardiola, of course, being with Bayern, I guess that could be the bridge to what we are doing, and we do. Yeah, and we knew also that, Marcus, you will soon be in an apartment. Now you've been sofa surfing for a long time. I am in some Munich airport hotel. I will probably make a book soon about airport hotels. But I have to say, I'm getting closer to a more normal routine now, after we tend to forget that, because of the World Cup in Qatar. The Champions League, the Europa League, Conference League, and all leagues are so compact, because you're going to have a number of games before that. So we will go down to normal. And but Marcus, if I may, I could start with, since we talked last time, I will, of course, recommend everybody to go into our YouTube channel to have a look at the Fabrizio Romano chat about Bellingham. But since we met since Bellingham scored a lot of goals, he loves scoring goals this season. His number is unbelievable. So I will just summarize the second round of the DFB Pokal is the German Football Cup. You had Bellingham, of course, they're winning in Hanover 2-0. Adeyemi sent off. They had an own goal and a penalty. Bellingham, he's taking a penalty as well now after his friend Erling Haaland had them last season. Bayern winning in Augsburg. Augsburg were 1-0 up. Remember, they beat them in the Bundesliga, if I'm not 100% wrong. And they were 1-0 up. Choupo-Moting, the number 9, they never thought they had, scored 2 against. Then you had Werder Bremen knocked out by Paderborn, 5-4 after penalties. Freiburg needed extra time to get into the next round against St. Pauli. And then, of course, Tuesday, the Darmstadt beat Gladbach. Darmstadt just outside Frankfurt. And as it turned out, when they had a draw, Darmstadt will play Frankfurt. That is a fantastic local derby there. Hoffenheim beat Schalke 5-1. Kramer got fired, as I predicted that he will. His time were coming to an end. Leipzig beat the former great club Hamburger Sportsverein 4-0. I was very glad to see Josef Paulsen, the Dane, coming back. 2 goals for him. They got a formidable striking force at that club with Silva, with Nkunku, with Werner, with Paulsen, with Forsberg. There's so many goals in that time, and maybe if we have some time at the end to talk also about the Champions League, because RB Leipzig will then meet Real Madrid, which is a big game for them. And the draw was Eintracht against Dortmund. Just to take the key games, Dortmund will play Bochum away. Mainz Bayern, which is going to be an interesting game. I know you're a big fan of Bo Svensson, so am I. He has gone the Red Bull way over Liefering, which is their second team, the farmer team in Austria, and is doing a fantastic job in Mainz. First he saved them, and now he kind of established them in the Bundesliga, which is impressive. And 2 informed teams, at least Hoffenheim, will not be that happy with the draw. They're going to Leipzig. What is interesting in Germany, when you compare that with some countries, at least our country, Norway, of course, I never liked this thing that the FA should tell you where to play, in home or away. That's what we have in Norway. It's unbelievable. But here is a first one up is a draw, and it's a home game. And in the first round, if it's a smaller team from other division, they will have the home advantage. But now it's just down to the wire. It's an Achtelfinale. It's the third round of the cup. And if you thought that it was only in England the cup was popular, the Pokalfinale, where we far nach Berlin, we're going to Berlin, is a big thing. The Olympia Stadium is sold out. It's a fantastic day out for the fans. Remember, we went there, Marcus, didn't we? Was that was Wolfsburg winning?
Wolfsburg against Dortmund.
Yeah, exactly.
In which Wolfsburg won. Actually,
exactly. Dieter Hecking was the coach. I remember that. It was a good day, because at the end we managed to get ourselves pitch side.
Yeah, exactly.
That was funny. So that was a conclusion of the DFB Pokal, the German Cup, Marcus.
And like you say, the fixtures are so congested because of the World Cup, and these teams, especially in the Champions League, pretty much playing Saturday or Sunday, Tuesday and Wednesday. And we're back, like you say, with the Champions League now again, where RB Leipzig can still advance. Leverkusen struggling a bit much. Bayern can solidify their first place in their group following their first 4 wins in their first 4 games. And then Eintracht have a very big game against Marseille. And fortunately, Frankfurt were up 3-0 at half against Gladbach, and we won't have to repeat him again, but we've said Lindström, we've said Muani, and what do? Lindström scores his 4th and 5th goal of the season, his first double in the Bundesliga. Muani gets his 6th assist, I believe. So they were able to save, hopefully, some energy and legs for their critical fixture against Marseille. Is there any other teams I'm forgetting? Then Dortmund are going to City. Haaland's return to Dortmund as well. We've spoken about Bellingham and his impact. We can go through Bayern as well. By the script 2-0 win. Nagelsmann back to Hoffenheim. where he had a very successful time. Choupo-Moting, 4 goals in 3 games now, and 5 wins in a row for Bayern without some of their key players having been out. Sané, Hernandez, Müller, and so the list, and Neuer, to name him as well. I guess now that Union lost to bottom of the table, or now 17th, Bochum, we are resuming slowly but surely back to normal in the Bundesliga, or maybe not so.
Well, it's back to normal that Bayern is winning football games. They've done that. They had a terrible period of 4 games where they didn't get a win. And it would, and we talked about that in a podcast we had. We said that I think they would be worrying, or for us that like to have excitement in Bundesliga, you should have Dortmund or Leipzig being at the top and have a 4 points thing. Good sentence. But I said before today when we talked about that, I guess we was with Fabrizio. Where did I say? I tend to forget. But Union Berlin was like this cyclist in Tour de France, who when you come to these big is it relay now? What is it? Etappe in Norwegian? The race. What a race! A mountain race, and you have in the summer when you know there is this cyclist that you don't know that good, who is 3 minutes ahead of the rest, or maybe 7 or 8 minutes, and they just know when we come on the top, we will get him somehow. Union Berlin losing against Bochum. Remember, Bochum beat Frankfurt at home as well, so that is 2 home games in a row for Eintracht for Bochum, which is interesting. Hoffenheim winning. Hoffenheim, I think they think they had a chance against Bayern, but did you see the goal from Musiala? He was exactly at the point marks that I've told you like 100 times where you should be at the corner. It's on the back post. You should slowly go around Musiala all on his own. And talking about Bellingham on fire, I think the reason we are talking about Bellingham more than Musiala is that you somehow feel that Bayern won't be tempted to sell. Because I think there's a lot of club. Musiala is like... he's so elegant. He's just like he's flowing on the pitch. It's unbelievable to follow him for Bayern, and then Choupo-Moting scoring again, and he is there to stay, and he's claiming that position. It's going to be interesting now to see how they're going to mix that with all the players hanging around with Koeman, Gnabry, Sané, Müller. Sané out now. That is a bit worrying for Germany. Manuel Neuer is still not training. It seems that he won't play the next game either. You just got a feeling that he will save himself for the World Cup as well, because he's so a key player for Germany. And Sven Ulreich, the second goalkeeper, has been there in 2 periods, I think. He did well. He's doing well. And to be fair, I mean, Bayern... Well, they don't get a lot of chances against. So Sven Ulreich taking the chances that he has to take. But I have to say, Marcus, well, you start with Frankfurt, so you more or less asked about them, and that is a fantastic win for them, and very impressive. I think that this is the kind of season we can expect, at least this first half of the season for Eintracht. They can have some games that are a bit off because they're tired, because of the intensity of the Champions League, the traveling and everything. But then you will have games where you see they will add on that same intensity that they have in game, because they used to know to play on a higher tempo. And Jesper Lindström is turning into to one of the, I won't say that he's rookies of the year, because he won the Europa League, but it's just unbelievable how he's doing at the moment. He, as I said last time, he just takes kind of steps as you are watching him.
And that's the key, isn't it? For any young player who is exciting, ultimately it's about your conversion as well. And when you start scoring goals, when you start getting assists, that's when you go from a good to a great player. So hopefully that trajectory will continue for Eintracht Frankfurt. We can also mention RB Leipzig, 3-0 down to Augsburg, 64 minutes played. So basically 25, 30 minutes left of the game. Come back to make it 3-3. Now, 16 points out of their 11 games is the worst record they have in the top flight. So that needs to be said. While now they're also one of the teams that have fixtures all the time, but they're unbeaten in their last 7. And Andres Silva got his first goal of the Bundesliga, and paradoxically, he is their most clinical striker in the Champions League this season. So it's one of those where he's, I guess, a metaphor for a team that is just a little bit everywhere, and just kind of limping themselves forward. Maybe they can get through to the knockout stages of the Champions League. Meanwhile, you have the likes of Freiburg, Eintracht, Union, Mainz, who are battling it out for the Champions League spots. And who's to say RB Leipzig will be a part of it or not?
Yeah, I think that is interesting with this season. You just somehow feel now when Bayern get going again, they will take the lead. That is not a big surprise. But then the clubs after you feel that Dortmund got a good enough team to do that, as they've done for many years. They should be the main challengers to Dortmund and to Bayern anyway. But then the two other places, they're up for grab, and it's going to be interesting now to see if Union Berlin can answer. They can bounce back after that loss against Bochum, because that was although there was was it just before the end, everything, well, it was 1-0 for a long time. Yeah, it was 2-0, but I think the second goal was around 75th minute, 70 minutes or something. So it will be interesting to see if they bounce back. But I think there's a lot of clubs now being ready for those two available places, as Leverkusen, who managed to be, they were 2-1 down, and then they saved themselves a point against Wolfsburg, Alonso, struggling in the Champions League as well. So I just feel that there is no comeback for Leverkusen. I predict that at the end of 24th of October. I don't think they will come back. I think Leipzig will come back. But when we started the podcast, Marcus, we're talking about Newcastle, who found a balance between defense and offense. I don't think Leipzig are there, although they have good players at the back as well. But somehow it's not optimal. It's not there right yet. But they're like 4 or 5 match winners. So I think Marco Rose will take them to a Champions League place. That means there is 1.5 position free. Leipzig as well, you had to know that it's just around the corner. Max Eberl, one of the most respected sport managers in Germany, has been out. He rested himself. He hit the wall. He was very exhausted, been out, and he's coming back. He is one of the best around, a good guy as well. So I think that would be very, very good for them. But the likes of Freiburg, Hoffenheim, Eintracht, maybe Gladbach with an outsider chance, Union, there's a lot of...
And maybe Mainz as well?
Mainz as well with Bo Svensson, yeah, good point. We'll see themselves as an outsider chance to get into the Champions League. So there's going to be... and I think that all of them will, of course, say, well, just get us now to the World Cup break, and then we'll restructure there and maybe get 1 or 2 players in and take the last step into the Champions League, which is the holy grail for every football club.
Yeah, that's what I think is so good about this season as well, is that it really is, success attracts attention. And so when you tend to fight in the top, it tends to, attract more attention. So having the likes of a Bo Svensson, who obviously the avid Bundesliga fan will know about, it's not that, but it's when these performances are being recognized beyond Germany, beyond the borders, when a Bo Svensson is linked to Brighton, and who's to say the validity of transfer rumors or not. But it is nice to have those stories being told, the same with Urs Fischer at Union, because there are some great projects in the Bundesliga. I mean, for Bo Svensson, he has a better winning record than Tuchel and Klopp at Mainz, which goes to say a lot. And like you say, gone through the Red Bull system. So it's... I just want to talk a very good point, Marcus, because I think it's interesting when the English listeners and viewers, they only hear about the 2 things that English fans will say about German Bundesliga is the Farmers League, which is hard to say after Erling Haaland now makes more fun of Premier League than he did after Champions League in terms of stats and the goals he's scoring, and Lewandowski keep on doing that in Barcelona as well. But it's quite interesting to follow German football, because I think that this is the bigger discussion about coaches in the Premier League, because every coach wants to once coach in the Premier League. That's why now all the best coaches, I would say, except Ancelotti,
Who do I forget? Zinedine Zidane
who's
is
abroad?
out. It was abroad. Now Emery coming now to Aston Villa. That was just before we went on this podcast. So you can say that Julian Nagelsmann will end up there. Tuchel is out with a timeout. He will. You understand that he will come back. So the English football fans, they will know about the players there. Musiala, Bellingham, Florian Wirtz, by the way, back in Mannschaft training. So he's a part of that. It's going to be interesting to see. I don't think he will get Bundesliga games, but will Germany still bring him to the World Cup because he is the future of German football. So you just feel that these big consortiums, these funds that now own English football clubs, and that is bad news for the English managers. We have Steven Gerrard, Frank Lampard struggling at Everton. Thank God for Eddie Howe at Newcastle and Graham Potter at Chelsea, because I think that is important for English football to have English managers. But you just feel that the culture of German football and the culture of how they work there, that we have to have an eye. I do, and you do, Marcus. But I think that the common football fan should have an eye to German football, because you just feel that some of these coaches, they will end up in the Premier League as head of sport of a big project called a Premier League club. And I know that fans hate us using those words, but it's just a fact. And you just feel that the Bo Svensson will somehow end up. Oliver Glasner brought Lask Linz, he brought Wolfsburg, he brought Eintracht Frankfurt into the Champions League. So you just feel that the English football fans should have an eye to that.
Absolutely, and it will be interesting to see how that unfolds. I believe no English manager has ever won the Premier League, if I'm not mistaken, either. So there is that.
The last one who won it was Howard Wilkinson. I think that was a year before. Maybe I'm wrong now, but that was a year before it was called Premier League. Howard Wilkinson.
Yes, and Premier League. There is a distinction. Therein lies a distinction. Yeah. There was also a time where you were interviewed for being asked how it was being foreign in the Premier League. So times do indeed change. I think we'll wrap it up there, Dad, in terms of going through this latest round. There will be the Champions League coming up tomorrow and Wednesday. And then, as this is recorded, Monday evening. And then we will be back for the following week, as games are just, coming for fun as the World Cup soon approaches.
Yes, thank you, Marcus. And I know that you are up for very in your job at PFA, and I will not discover what it is because I'm not sure what our internal routines are at PFA. But I think that next time we will speak to you, we will have also a very interesting conversation of the things that you are up to this week. So I just want to wish you all the best on that. And maybe in between everything, we can make another list, which was very popular when I said the three best defenders. We'll take a short one on that one.
That is noted. We appreciate the comments. We've noted it, and we will be back with it. But we won't do this in a lower ground hotel outside King's Cross, St. Pancras. Maybe a better hotel room next time.
But Marcus, I can tell you that when I came to this hotel, they put me in a room with the shortest bed I've ever seen in my life. So thank God the receptionist said, I can understand you, but this was booked for you. So I'm in a better room now. So, but I shall not complain after you've been 3 months being on the road doing your stuff. Yeah. So it's great. It's going to be an interesting week with the German teams in the Champions League. Hopefully, they can do something about if you take Bayern away from the German European Cup performance the last years, and Eintracht Frankfurt winning Europa League, which was fantastic, by the way. But Bayern Munich was knocked out by Villarreal. So I think this year they will come further. But the other teams got to produce as well. Dortmund through Leipzig and Real Madrid going to be a fantastic football game as well this week. So we got a lot to talk about, and I look forward to speak to you again. So to all of you, auf Wiedersehen.
Thanks for watching, and please subscribe. And if you have any comments, any issues, themes that you want us to discuss, give us a comment and we always reply to that. And if you know something that we don't know, which you probably do, just give us a shout.